For millions of us, dogs are family, loyal, emotional and deeply connected to us. I have 6 dogs myself, and ever since a child, I've had dogs in my house. I've grown up with them and could never imagine my world without their happy little faces lighting my day up.
But not everyone sees them that way.
In some parts of the world, dogs are still feared, despised, seen as dirty, or treated as pests. Some are banned, and some are culled, and others are even eaten. It's alien to me and the people I know, but in some places dogs are not seen the way we see dogs here in the USA and Europe.
Today we're diving into a question that sparked arguments online and off. Which countries dislike dogs the most and why?
Our bond with dogs depends on culture, history and faith. In much of the West, dogs share our homes, our beds, even our legal rights. But across many other regions, dogs are seen as scavengers, impure or dangerous.
Generations shaped by religion, poverty or survival see dogs very differently from those of us who can afford to love them freely.
In the Islamic tradition, dogs are often viewed as najis, impure, due to hadiths about saliva contamination during prayer. That belief discouraged keeping them as pets, though they've always been used for guarding and hunting. Hadith talks about reports of the sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. The 2 most commonly cited books are Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. These are regarded by Sunni Muslims as among the most authentic hadith collections. It is suggested that saliva contamination from dogs should be dealt with accordingly. If a dog drinks from the vessel of one of you, let him wash it 7 times. Another version adds, the first washing with earth. This became the basis for several schools of Islamic law that dog saliva is ritually impure. There is also another belief that angels will not enter a house with dogs in it. This also comes from hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. A common translation states, the angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or images. Islamic law historically has allowed dogs for hunting, guarding livestock, guarding property, farming and military security use, but working only and not as indoor companions or pets. Modern Muslims vary hugely in interpretation. Some keep dogs freely as pets, while others avoid indoor dogs for religious reasons. Some have even recently been seen posting social media about implementing dog-free zones in the Western countries they have settled in. In India, attitudes towards dogs have long been tied to religion, folklore and ideas of purity and pollution within Hinduism. While cows are revered as sacred symbols of life and monkeys are honoured through their connection to Hanuman, dogs often held a more uneasy place in the spiritual imagination. Ancient Hindu traditions sometimes link dogs with cremation grounds, wandering spirits and death because they scavenged around villages and funeral sites. Black dogs in particular became associated in some beliefs with omens and the god of death, Yama, who is described in scriptures as being accompanied by 2 fierce 4-eyed dogs guarding the road to the underworld. Because of these associations, dogs were historically viewed by some communities as ritually impure, with texts such as parts of the Manusmriti treating them as polluting animals if they entered sacred spaces. Yet Hinduism also gives dogs a noble and spiritual role. The fierce deity Bhairava, a form of Shiva associated with graveyards and protection, is almost always depicted with a dog beside him or riding one. Here the dog symbolises loyalty, fearlessness and vigilance. In some parts of India, black dogs are even fed during Bhairava festivals as acts of devotion believed to bring protection from misfortune. Dogs also appear positively in the Mahabharata, where the hero Yudhishthira refuses to abandon a faithful stray dog on his journey to heaven, only for the dog to reveal itself as a divine being testing his compassion and loyalty. In China, dogs historically occupied a dual role: loyal companions, guards, and hunting animals, but also a source of food during periods of extreme hardship. Ancient Chinese records show dogs being kept alongside pigs and chickens as household livestock, particularly in poorer rural communities where survival outweighed emotional attachment to animals. Across Chinese history, repeated famines, wars, and social collapse shaped these practices. During devastating periods of starvation, many people ate whatever animals were available to survive, including dogs. In isolated rural areas, those survival habits continued culturally long after the original hardships had passed. A similar history developed in South Korea following war, occupation, and severe poverty, particularly after the Korean War, when food shortages left many struggling to survive. Dog meat consumption has also historically existed in parts of Vietnam, Laos, Indonesia, and some rural areas of northern India, usually tied to older regional traditions, poverty, survival during hardship, or beliefs surrounding health and stamina. In recent decades, this evolved into the controversial dog meat trade in parts of several Asian countries. Dogs were bred, transported, and slaughtered for meat, often in conditions heavily criticised by animal welfare organisations. One of the most internationally condemned examples is the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, which still exists today in a reduced form. During the summer solstice festival, dogs are still sold and eaten in parts of Yulin, alongside rural restaurants in some areas of China that continue to serve dog meat. Images and footage from these events have caused outrage across much of the Western world, where dogs are overwhelmingly viewed as beloved family companions rather than livestock. Critics have also alleged that some animals in the trade were stolen pets or captured strays.
Let's look at some of the countries where negative attitudes towards dogs still persist and why.
Saudi Arabia and Iran. Keeping dogs as pets is widely discouraged. In Iran, simply walking a dog in public can lead to fines or confiscation, rooted in the belief that dogs are unclean. China. While modern cities are evolving, places like Yulin still hold dog meat festivals. Lack of animal welfare laws and old traditions keep the practice alive, even as younger generations protest. South Korea. Long divided over the dog meat trade, half the country sees dogs as food, half as family. The government now plans to ban dog meat entirely, showing change is possible. Egypt. Stray dogs, called baladi, are routinely poisoned or shot. Seen as rabid and dangerous, they're rarely shown kindness, even though they simply need vaccination and care. Ethiopia and Kenya. Dogs are mostly guards or hunters, not pets. Widespread rabies outbreaks mean people fear them more than they love them.
Over the years of running Animal Watch, I've received thousands of comments from viewers around the world. And I'll be honest, some have been shocking. Whenever I post about dogs or wolves, people, often from countries where dogs are considered impure, leave comments calling them dirty or diseased. Some even write, "Only white women do this," as if loving or protecting dogs was something shameful or foreign. It's heartbreaking, not because I take it personally, but because it shows how deep the disconnect runs. In many places, compassion for animals has been replaced by generations of fear and misunderstanding, and that's exactly why we need to talk about it.
Rabies remains a deadly threat in many regions of the world, particularly in parts of India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, China, and across areas of sub-Saharan Africa, where large populations of unvaccinated stray dogs still exist. The World Health Organization estimates around 60,000 people die from rabies every year, with the vast majority of cases occurring in Asia and Africa. Around 99% of human rabies infections come from dog bites. Once symptoms appear, rabies is almost always fatal. The virus attacks the brain and nervous system, causing fear, aggression, paralysis, and eventually death. In many poorer regions, limited access to vaccines, emergency treatment, and mass dog vaccination programs allows the disease to continue spreading between stray dogs and humans.
Where dogs carry disease, they're feared, and where fear dominates, cruelty follows.
Fear breeds misinformation and cruelty.
Without vaccines, education, or empathy, fear becomes people's only defence.
In recent years, several countries have faced international criticism for culling stray dogs ahead of major sporting events, tourism campaigns, and attempts to clean up cities for foreign visitors. Ahead of the 2014 Winter Olympics and the 2018 FIFA World Cup, Russia was accused of mass poisonings and shooting of street dogs in host cities. More recently, Morocco has come under intense scrutiny over allegations that stray dogs are being killed in tourist areas and World Cup host cities ahead of the 2030 FIFA World Cup. Animal welfare groups claim dogs have been shot, poisoned, and removed from streets to make cities appear cleaner and safer for tourists, although Moroccan authorities deny mass extermination policies. Beyond major sporting events, dog culls also occur in some countries with large tourism industries, where authorities attempt to reduce visible stray populations around resorts, beaches, and historic centres. Reports of poisoning, shooting, or removal of street dogs have periodically emerged from parts of India, Egypt, Turkey, and other regions struggling with large stray animal populations, rabies concerns, and pressure to maintain tourist-friendly city images. Animal welfare groups have heavily condemned the methods used in some culls as deeply inhumane. Disturbing footage has circulated over the years, showing dogs beaten to death in the streets, poisoned with toxic chemicals or rat poison, dragged away with wire poles, or thrown into mass pits, with activists seeing that some animals were still alive when buried beneath the soil. Campaigners argue these practices cause prolonged suffering and fear, while also failing to solve the long-term stray dog problem. Many welfare organisations advocate for mass sterilisation, vaccination and rescue programmes as more humane and effective solutions.
But there's hope.
Around the globe, young activists are changing minds, rescuing strays, building shelters, and pushing governments to act. In countries such as China, South Korea, India, and Turkey in particular, younger generations are increasingly rejecting older attitudes towards dogs and demanding stronger animal welfare laws, sterilisation programmes, and an end to cruelty. Social media has become their voice, exposing suffering and abuse that once remained hidden from the world. Videos of rescues, street feeding projects, and undercover investigations now spread globally within hours, putting huge pressure on authorities and industries that once operated largely unseen. I've seen incredible progress in places where, a decade ago, dogs had almost no advocates at all. In many major cities across Asia especially, Dogs are increasingly being viewed not as pests or livestock, but as real companions and family members, a cultural shift happening in real time.
However, a darker side has emerged from this, with thousands of fake dog rescue accounts popping up on social media, using videos of abused animals in a way of collecting donations. Some videos have even been faked for donations, causing possibly more abuse.
Dog hatred isn't born from evil. It's born from ignorance, poverty, fear, and religion. Where people struggle to survive or are controlled by their religious beliefs, empathy often comes last. And when basic education and healthcare are missing, compassion for animals disappears too.
This isn't about demonising countries, it's about exposing a lack of awareness and empathy. In many regions, dogs suffer because people were never taught to value them. It's a problem of education, poverty, and outdated tradition. And that mindset can change through compassion, through conversation, and through truth.
However, one thing is certain though, any anti-dog beliefs based in fear and ignorance are not welcome in first world countries. And controversially, recent posts on social media from organisations such as the BBC and from certain politicians has suggested a need for dog-free zones in the Western world, something the existing residents are not taking lightly. In Europe and the USA, we have spent years trying to give anti-cruelty rights to animals and have fought hard for legislation. No one is willing to allow this hard work to ever be reversed. That is for sure.
So yes, there are places where dogs are still feared, rejected, and even abused. But there are also brave people in those same countries risking their lives to save them. Change begins with knowledge, and knowledge begins when we speak up. If we keep challenging ignorance, if we keep showing the beauty of dogs and wolves instead of the myths, then compassion will spread. Because love for animals isn't a Western thing, it's a human thing. And the world needs more of it. And if you enjoyed this episode of Animal Watch, then please give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel by clicking the button in the bottom hand corner, and tune in every week where I'll be bringing you more amazing episodes on dogs, wolves, animal rescue and conservation. Bye for now, and bye from a very, very cute Ocean who can't understand why nobody would love her.